You're listening to episode 845 of the Father Bills podcast. Welcome back. This week's episode is entitled, Being a Good Host and Guest, given on the 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time, 2022. Have you ever been guilty of not paying attention to what someone was saying to you? Are you even listening right now? I think we all have. I know I have. I've been guilty of walking into the church, someone saying hi to me, and I just blew right by them. I was distracted because I needed to go somewhere, and I just didn't hear it. Now, on the flip side of things, have you ever been talking and realized that the other person was not fully paying attention to you? Maybe they were distracted. Maybe they're looking at their phone. I've had it where someone, it's pretty clear they're looking beyond me. I'm like, what? Have you ever been misunderstood? In my priesthood, I've never felt really lonely, but in moments where I'm deeply misunderstood, that is those moments for me. How about you've just been disregarded? Like you don't count. Like you're not even there. Remember last week's homily where we were being called to love our neighbor beyond our differences. For all these examples that I just offered are failures of loving our neighbor, especially in terms of hospitality. And when I say hospitality, I'm referring to the care of others where one is the host and another is the guest. How about this? Have you ever gone to someone and visited someone's home where they were so excited that they treated you like a celebrity? How does that feel? Pretty impressive, huh? You're like, wow. But how about on the flip side, when you were visiting, let's say, where you felt like you were a burden to them, even showing up? In my short time here at Holy Trinity, it is clear that you strive to do the best in hospitality, and I have been totally spoiled by your kindness. Thank you so much. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. And thank you, Father Dave, Saint Father Dave, for preparing everybody. And me too. We had lots of emails going back and forth for months discussing the transition. Well, today we've been offered two wonderful examples and two stories of hospitality, one with Abraham and Sarah, who cared for three angelic visitors, guests, that is, and Mary and Martha, who received Jesus into their home, offering each different forms of hospitality. And without getting into it, there's another homily, but Martha seems to need an attitude check. But again, like I said, that's another time. If you will, I'd like to focus on the first reading and the visitation of these three angelic beings who were complete strangers to their host, Abraham and Sarah. And if you read the bulletin today, I'm also referring to the same icon that we have in our church in the back over here of those three angelic beings visiting Abraham and Sarah. Have you ever noticed that our expectations are different when we meet strangers? These three persons were total strangers to Abraham and Sarah. When we meet strangers, we just take them at their word because we have no history with them. And sometimes we might even be more open to hearing what they have to say than our own family members. Because, see, our families, they know us, then they know who we are, right? I know you. I know your history. But is that really fair? Not really. We get kind of stuck in our roles, huh? It's a common experience, and I was this as a teen, that I started listening to my friends more than my parents. And parents, I'm sure you're praying that your teens, when that happens, that that other person will be that one they would listen to that will encourage the values that you have. I know I did that. I stuck around people that would help me be the best version of myself, help me not to get into trouble. And those who wanted me to get in trouble was mostly the last time I hung around them. We hope that the other will be those persons or person that will help our beloved young people to reinforce what is so good in them. So, speaking of other, not necessarily a stranger, I hope not a stranger, but other, the most other is God. God is not the creation. He is completely separate from the creation. In fact, the word holy, when you think of God, holy God, the word holy means apart, separate. Sounds strange, huh? But though he is separate, God is separate, he is intimately involved. God is totally holy, all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-present. And these are three qualities that none of us have, or at least, hopefully you understand that you don't have those. Some people think they know everything. But if you saw the headlines on Monday or Tuesday, I hope that this was a gut check. It was for me. Because the James Webb Space Telescope revealed its first set of images. And my friends, these are the greatest images that have been ever taken. And there will be more coming. And then those will be, again, the greatest images ever photographed. They're mind-blowing. Some of us might look at them and go, meh, it's pretty. What? It reminded me once again that how big God is and how little I am. That God is in charge, and he's a magnificent creator. This is God's universe, not mine. He created it, not me. I don't recall putting myself into existence, right? So this makes him, God, the host for all that is. The stars, the galaxies, the planets, your neighborhood, your house, us. And out of love, he created us. In this place and in this time, we are here. This has never happened before. Now, that is. This is brand new. This is not a repeating cycle. We've never been here before. But God has chosen us to be born of the parents that we have or had, and to be in this place and time. We could have been born 100 years ago, but we weren't. This is part of God's plan. If that doesn't blow your mind, just keep looking at those space images. This tells us then, if God is the host, that means we are the guest. Or guests, I should say. God has given us this a magnificent world in which to live. And he deeply cares for us. In the history of humanity, we have not always, though, been the best of guests. Sometimes we've acted with a sense of ownership. This is mine. Sometimes we've acted with a sense of entitlement. I deserve this. Sometimes we've not treated our world or an environment kindly, or each other charitably. Often we've not treated each other with the hospitality that God has given to us and has offered us. Sometimes we think in senses of entitlement, or worse, arrogance. This is certainly not being a good guest. Turning to Abraham and Sarah, they recognized the dignity of these guests that came before them, total strangers to them, and they truly knocked themselves out for their guests. Remember, they bathed their feet. They gave them a place to rest. And they didn't just cook a meal for them. They killed the entire choice steer as a meal for them. Now think about this. I'm no cook, by the way. But I'm pondering, they had to go and get that steer out of the field. They had to, I'll just say, dress it. I'll be very generic about that because it's got to be quite a mess. And they didn't use a microwave oven to cook it. So I don't think there's a microwave oven big enough for such a thing. And think about how big that meal would have been and how long this would have taken. That's a whole day. Now, for those of you who like cooking, that's like heaven. For me, I just stick to my microwave oven, thanks. But they did all of this without expectation of a thank you or any gift being returned in response. And yet, and maybe even because, I don't know, but God recognize their unconditional love and hospitality, and bless them with a miraculous child, despite Abraham and Sarah being of old age. Now, my mom, she passed at 94, almost 95, and I had a lot of conversations with her. And I'd have to say, Mom, she'd tell me, don't get old. I'm like, okay, Mom. I think she qualifies. When you get into your 90s, I think that's okay to say, you're old. But the wisdom she had was immense and awesome. And I still miss her. God has given Abraham and Sarah a child in their 90s. Not something likely moms at 90 would want, right? All right. This week, be mindful that God's divine hospitality towards us is beyond measure. There's nothing we could possibly do to give back to God in any kind of commensurate way that would make complete equity at all. But make an effort, and please make an extra effort to be more attentive and hospitable to others. Make an extra effort to welcome your neighbor, to show them the love and care that recognizes their inherent dignity as a child of God, regardless of our differences. You know, St. Therese, she is famous for being kind to one of the sisters in her convent. And at her death, after the death, the sister thought she was the most favorite of all the sisters until she read her biography or autobiography, where it was turned out that that was the nun that bothered her the most. It drove her crazy that she would clank her rosary beads during prayer. And yet St. Therese treated her with the first and foremost of kindness. So look around you. Appreciate the beautiful playground of life which God has placed us in. Take time to view images of the cosmos or places that are beautiful that you would have been or like to go to. The internet is full. It's easy. Just Google something. And if you're on vacation, or maybe you're on vacation now, take the time to see the gift of the beauty and the strangeness that's around you, and the people who are new to you around you that you encounter. God might be speaking to you through them. We may be entertaining angels unaware. Read the scriptures while you're gone if you're on vacation. Take God with you as you go. For God has done so much, and he wants to share it with others. And you may be the only one that would share it with others. And may we all be more aware of God's love and care for us, so that we may love and care each other and be good hosts and guests of this thing we call life. Thank you again for listening to this episode of the Father Bill's podcast. Now, I'll be out on vacation beginning after this next weekend, and I will not have time to produce the podcast. So I just want to let you know we'll be having a break for a week, and you can listen to the podcast or the homily from Holy Trinity if you just go to h-t.org, and Deacon Brett will be giving the homily at that time if you want to hear it. But I will not be even giving it even then. But I won't have time, even if I could, to produce it, because I'll be heading out as soon as I can for my vacation. I'll be gone for about a week. So just want to let you know that. If you have any questions or comments, as always, just go to my website, fatherbill.org. That's FRBILL.org. And there you can email me. You can see what's going on my Facebook page or Twitter. I don't do much on the Instagram, etc. But those are the websites for social media I kind of stick with. That's Facebook and Twitter. So that's probably the best way to go. Until next time, may God bless you and have a great week. Bye-bye.